Hello everyone. We'll be starting today's session shortly. While we wait for others to join, could you kindly confirm if I'm audible? You can type a yes in the chat box. Thanks, Pooja, for confirming. Just couple more minutes and we'll start today's session. Thanks everyone. Thank you, Geeta. Just couple more minutes.
Hi, everyone. I'm hoping your presence. Am I audible, all of you, all the participants? Perfect. Thank you, Suresh, for the response. So, to initiate our discussion, majorly the context of this discussion is understanding no, the evolution from core Python to generative AI. So, over the next few minutes, we're going to understand the journey of learning. So basically, when we start with the basic fundamentals, understanding Python programming, before we move towards the advanced AI applications like Gen AI or deep learning. So we have with us one of the prominent industry mentors, having a vast experience in the industry. Uh, None other than Mr. Shelton Maharish Sundar Singh. So I welcome him towards a conversation. I'm hoping I'm audible to you, Mr. Shelton.
Yes, you are. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So to set up our discussion for the next few minutes, we going to understand every aspect of how is Python as a programming language is widely accepted and leveraged to understand the advanced AI models which are being used today, and the rapid digital transformation we are moving up to. I guess we're gonna understand all these concepts from a very seasoned professional. So yeah, I'll give the space currently to Mr. Shelton. Please go ahead and help us understand about the context of our discussion.
Perfect. So, thanks everyone for joining. So, this has been an interesting time to come together with the team to talk about Python and generative AI. So, here the main thing that we have to connect is okay, so today everyone talks about Gen AI, everybody talks about LLMs,
Yeah,
but at the very core, we have Python as the basics. It's like typically we other also have other programming languages like R, and let's say even you can do whatever we do in data science using like say C, C sharp, and all the basic languages that we have. But Python has rapidly grown in the last few years, right? It's like so in anything right from web development till analytics and data science, and even for LLMs and for computer vision also, Python has taken a very incredible place. And I think today's topic is gonna make that connection how Python can help us in Gen A, and also even within the programming premises of Python, how Gen A can be used. So that would be the core point of discussion today. Yeah.
absolutely. As mentioned, all the participants. I mean, I personally, Ms. Hilton, when I have consulted a lot of professionals coming from different diversified portfolios, coming from software development, working with Java, right? Now, the folks coming from development usually find it much more easier to understand Python because of the libraries. But I'd like to understand for the folks not coming from a rich experience in understanding any programming languages. How much of a difficulty it is to understand Python from the very grassroots level. Now we all understand because of all the libraries and considering the acceptance of Python into analytics is wherein do people always prefer learning Python. But I'd like to understand with your expertise is how easier it is going to be for all the persons not coming from an IT background understanding this as a programming language.
Yeah, that's a very good question, Pratap. So basically, when we look into programming languages, right, every programming language has its own complexity when it comes to understanding the structure of the language, and then how do we start using it. And out of all the languages, there is also simplified languages. Earlier people used to say SQL is one of the very simplest and most easily understandable language because it's literally like English. And then now in the recent trends, it's also Python, right? So when we look into Python as a language, it's literally an English oriented programming code, which means that most of the syntaxes that we have is close to English as a language. That's one part of
Okay.
it. So it's easily understandable. Even from non-coding background, it's very easy to get into this code structuring and syntax formation and other things. Second, with the current world of Gen AI and also other inferences that, let's say, Copilot and other things getting into the interface, it's not only easy to get the code right away with our thought process, but you also get into a guided way of learning coding. So it's like so it becomes easier as we move into a way where it is guided. And Python being most simplest and easily understandable language, I think for anyone who begins to start doing coding, I would say people coming from our HR team, especially from finances team, those people also have started to use Python. So I think it's going to be very pretty straightforward and easy for anyone who's adopting this as their first programming language.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for this answer, Ms. Shelton. And I do see, I mean, with a lot of candidates, I've also consulted, as you mentioned, coming from diversified portfolios and the objective of the transformation we are heading up upon, right? The kind of investments coming in. There are a lot of keenness upon the students coming from any background to go ahead and learn the skill sets. Now, provided the learning structure of the program is efficient, is wherein learners are also finding it much more easier. Yes, I get it, Ms. Shelton. Right. Uh, so I'll request all of the participants who have joined the program to post all their queries initially. However, once we go forward with the discussion, Ms. Shelton will go forward and help us understand the context of what the reason we are meeting upon currently. So, if there is any other question that has to be answered initially from any of the participants, please post your queries now, or else we'll go ahead and start our discussion. All right, then. Yeah. So I've got one of the questions from a learner, Michelle. His name is Pooja Rajput. The question is how to transform career in AI machine learning with the help of Python.
Yeah. So let's look into the current landscape of things that is happening, right? It's like, so we everyone is in a craze about Gen AI, and then even before that, people talk about data science and machine learning as something that is one of the top niche skill sets or the fields that is now trending. And whenever people want to do take a transformation from their current roles into something like AML, the basic bridging thing is the programming language. So here in this programming language space, we have multiple options of languages that are present. Especially some years back, it was R programming, and now it is Python, right? And for in the field of AML, when we talk about programming languages, it gives us a balance. It's like, so someone need not be an expert in this because we are not talking about building your own website. So let's be clear on that, that this programming language that we are talking about to build AML models or data science model, analytical outcomes, those kind of things doesn't need us to be super good like a Java developer or a Python developer. But this is something where I would see in an intermediate state, right? So anyone who's new can definitely adopt to it. And most of what we develop, right from creating the model, publishing the model into production, and then monitoring the model or building pipelines for the model, everything the end to end can be completely derived in Python. And even when we wanted to build something which is more advanced, it could be PySpark, which is again based out of Python, because Python becomes your foundation, and the next language is Spark, which gets added on Python. So to answer the question in simple words, the career transformation starts with basic understanding of Python as a programming language, then learning Python to get into how it can be used for analytics as well as for AML. And the third one is getting your hands dirty into trying these for your projects typically. And the time duration, I would say it's a fair estimate to say you need to spend around 3 to 4 months is a very qualitative time that I could say that it needs for a team to transform into someone who is getting to code in Python. Yeah.
Yes, Pooja, I hope the answer has clarified all of your questions. Perfect. So we have the other question, Shelton. Karthik Raja has posted a question. Is it possible to learn AML without coding for any code graduates? So Karthik, that is exactly what Mr. Shelton has been trying to address for the past few minutes. Possibly it requires a bit of time. I mean the initial understanding of Python or the syntaxes, the libraries. If you're learning it from a good source wherein the faculties are credible, or you're going to understand it from the very grassroots level, things are ultimately no. I mean, it is going to get easier for you to understand it, and it is for every individual, not just coming from the IT background, but every core background. That is wherein you would see a lot of profiles, even from mechanical background, are currently functioning roles like data scientist, acquiring roles of AI ML engineering. So that's a possibility. That's a case which you can learn, provided you're learning it from a very good resource. Yeah, Mr. Shelton, we have the other question Ms. Shuesh Rana has published. What type of job roles we can get after completing this particular course, which is AI and machine learning?
That's a brilliant question to ask. So, typically, when we look into the landscape of data science, right, there are multiple roles that are needed when we talk about setting up a data team. So, the first and the core is data analytics. So, basically, anyone who is within like 6 to 7 years or less than 7 years of experience who is getting into an area like data analytics can come from different backgrounds, like say business analytics. They could be prior to this, they could have been doing anything that is related to data. For them, the first stepping place could be a data analyst position, right? So that is for junior level people that I'm mentioning. And if you are very focused on data science, then that becomes the second level of career where we talk about senior, junior data scientists. So that is second level. And in parallel to develop and deploy these models, we are also talking about set of engineering teams that is really needed to set up. So one set of people are the ones who bring this to production. They are called as ML engineers. So basically, their responsibility is to bring the data science model into production. So they focus much on deploying the model. So that is ML engineering. And then
Okay.
there is a stream called ML ops, which is also based out of machine learning. So if someone is coming from a DevOps background and you wanted to get transformed in this, we have an opportunity in MLOps. Then there is also model testing that is there. Someone from testing background, if you learn AML at some point, you could also see yourself in model testing. That is another spectrum. And beyond all this, there is also a spectrum for people who have functional knowledge, like say data science product managers, then we have data science managers, then also we have decision scientists, which is kind of a mix of technical plus functional roles. So it is a huge spectrum, and with recent evolution in the field, there are also roles like people who work in ethical AI engineers, very specifically, and then there is also Gen AI engineers who focus more on the LLMs and Gen AI concepts. So the spectrum is broad, I would say. Yeah.
Absolutely. I hope that answers your question, Mr. Karthik. All right. So we'll go ahead now. So majorly, all the folks, all the participants who have joined the particular webinar, I'd like to set the context that the main agenda of this particular discussion that we're all having is to understand not just about how Python has influenced, or the critical element Python has in relation to stepping into analytics, but yeah, you'll also learn how to set up your Python environment using maybe Anaconda or Jupyter notebooks. You'll also understand from Mr. Shelton as to how you can go ahead and write and execute your Python programs, and understand the fundamentals of efficient coding, leveraging Python as a programming language. Uh, so we'll go ahead and have a much efficient Q&A once we go through our main objective of the discussion, folks. So now I'll like to request Ms. Shelton if we can go ahead and initiate our objective of the discussion.
Sure.
Perfect. And I, folks, I would request you to please be aligned with the discussion, and we'll give all of you ample amount of space to have a major Q&A with Ms. Shelton.
Okay. So once again, let's get back to the topic of discussion today. So the first one is, so within the spectrum of Python and generative AI. So we are talking about two different things. One is a very advanced one, which is typically we are talking about Gen AI, which is very recent, very trending. And then we are talking about Python, which is again the very foundational step for any establishment, right? It's like, so how is this two things connected? So let's start with some background to it. So we will start with what is the overview that we know about Gen AI, right? It's like, so we have to understand how Python plays a vital role on Gen AI. We will talk about it. Then we will also talk about the various areas in which Python gets applied. So it is not only restricted to certain domains. It's like it can be across multiple domains, like say finance, HR, accounting, controlling. Anything that we have within the company can be easily targeted. So we are going to talk about its application. Then we are mainly going to talk about the IDEs. Okay, so the IDEs are nothing but platforms where we can execute this Python code, and these IDEs have become more intelligent now. So the Gen AI topic that we are talking about is going to be shown in those IDEs, and basically we are going to use this IDEs to do generative AI to create the codes that we have. So in our today's topic, we will focus more about the basics that are needed to start with Python, which is NumPy and Pandas. And we are not going to do the traditional way of writing the code, because we have efficient Gen AI tools. And as many of us are not from the coding background, please be rest assured that these Gen AI tools are there to enhance our coding style. So basically, we need not worry about, okay, who's there to guide me when I code. That's where these Gen AI tools are there in place, which can enhance our coding experiences. So if you can relate to something like someone is there to mentor your coding all the time, and they keep guiding you to write the proper code. So that is what we are going to look into. Yeah. So let's move on. So before we get into this, let's understand the spectrum of what is the difference between artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, and Gen AI models, right? So on the top, we have artificial intelligence. Yes, of course, this is something that where we are talking about machines taking decisions by themselves, right? So they have an action, and then these actions also lead to some decisions. So basically, when we talk about something like a self-driving car is always called as an artificial intelligence machine. But why is it really artificial intelligence? Let's think about it, right? So before even going to self-driving cars, let me ask you a question. We all write if-else statement, right? Rule-based if-else statement. Do you think it is AI or no? Maybe you can just answer. Yeah. What do you think? The if-else that we write, logical if-else. Okay, so if something is like this, if condition is satisfied, then it is like this. If it doesn't satisfy, it is like this. Yes, Jasmine, you're right. Exactly. Right. So these things are definitely AI, but the maturity of this AI has grown over the years, that right now we are not just talking about defined actions, but also decisions that are tied up to it, right? It's like, so basically you can take something like a self-driving car. The self-driving car has got a lot of modules. One of the modules that the self-driving car has is um, fuel left for empty. Okay. So how long can you drive your car with the current fuel? This is one of the things that is present in a self-driving car. And this basically just gives you a decision of how many kilometers your car will go, whether it is 25 kilometers or let's say 50 kilometers. This information is given by something which is called as a machine learning model, which is a single output model. Okay, so it can just predict, it can just forecast and tell you an estimate. But what would happen in an artificial intelligence system is that maybe this system is connected to the maps ecosystem. Okay. And based on this 25 kilometers remaining distance that you can travel, maybe the map suggests you the nearest petrol station. Okay. And it says that, hey, with your current driving speed, if you continue to go here, maybe you will never reach your destination, or you have to definitely take the next petrol station so that you can drive your car. So if the machine can intelligently suggest or decide something on the behalf, let's say in a pedestrian crossing, the car is at a high speed, and the self-driving car decides either to brake or to speed up. Okay, let's talk about these two scenarios. So the choice of decision, if the algorithm can take by itself, then it becomes an artificial intelligence system. But if it doesn't take a decision, but it just gives some plain forecast or prediction, that is called as machine learning. So the field of machine learning is more about forecasting and predictions. Okay, so when we say prediction, what are we predicting? So typically we are predicting something like, say, whether a person can buy something or not. So on Eventim website, let's say that we do a lot of bookings, right? So in the bookings, let's say someone is interested in buying the product or not, or whether someone will make a booking or not. So in the field of let's say Amazon, someone, whether they will be buying this iPhone or not. So those kind of predictions that happen are all under this umbrella of machine learning. It's purely mathematical models. So when I say mathematical models, it can be anything like linear algebra, okay? All the things that we learned in the university, right? Calculus and data structure based models. Okay, and there are many other things as well, like say distance based models and stuff. So these things are machine learning. Now, further complexity is machine learning can be done with proper mathematical models like algebra, calculus, but can also be done with advanced algorithms like neural networks. Okay, so that is when we call it as deep learning. So it is a subsegment within machine learning. Still, they do the same kind of prediction, but deep learning is more specialized when we talk about complex data patterns. So what is complex data pattern? Say, for example, a image is a complex data pattern. For a machine to understand what is present within an image, it's not straightforward, it's quite complicated, right? Let's say we have a poster for an event. So to analyze what elements are present within the poster, there is a date, there is a venue, there is a person like an actor who is present in the picture. So those kind of things, whatever we have, becomes part of the neural networks because these are complex inputs like videos, audios can be analyzed using neural networks. Now, the interesting part is this innovation led to something which is called as Gen AI, which is typically all your chat GPT models. So that is from a concept which is called as transformers, which is an advanced form of neural networks, which still is doing a word prediction. So the chat GPT that we are using at the moment is something that predicts word by word. We see that it is generating a huge text, but it's actually not generating a whole lot of chunk of text, but it is predicting one word at a time. So if possibly the input is like this, what are the possible next words that can be given as suggestion comes from a model like ChatGPT. Now, this ChatGPT and is mainly supported with something which is called as large language models, which imagine we have the whole internet and the internet is like a book, okay? And you're making a person learn everything in the whole world, the textbook. So that is like your large language model. So they learn on huge data sets, okay? So that's why they are called as large language. And recently, what the innovation has gone into is people said that why just think about languages, let's say English or Tamil or German or whatever languages, right? Whatever languages are present, why should we confine this to only these things? Can we also expand this to our coding practices? So say Python is a language. So Python has a syntax like typically English has grammar and English has parts of the speech and English has a specific syntax to be followed, right? When we frame a sentence, the same standards go for our coding as well. So typically when you write a code, the coding styles also follow some kind of a format, so we can definitely implement the same concept for our coding too. So that's why today's topic is that is about using this Gen AI as a support tool for our Python development. So of course, we are going to learn today some basic Pythons. Yes, we will see that. But when we learn it, we will also see that how this Gen AI has made this field so advanced that we can use prompts to typically do the coding as well. Yeah. So we will cover the basics today, and I will go through a couple of scenarios where you can see how this is getting used and what are the downsides as well. And basically, this is a very good example of how this advancement has happened between discriminative AI, which is the traditional data science algorithms that we do versus the generative AI that we have. So the first one, we can see that there are a lot of images that is given as an input. We are training a model to show how a dog looks like, right? So there are a lot of dog images. So there is a huge pattern to it. The algorithm in the middle is a neural networks algorithm. So typically it could be something like a convolution neural network, or something which is more advanced, which is like a VCG network or something. And mainly these network focuses on learning the patterns of a dog, how a dog looks like, how does the edges of a dog's look like. So these things are learned by the model. And basically they were just telling, if you give an input image, these models just predict and say whether the dog is present or not. So you give an image, it will just say yes or no. Okay, that's it. But when we move to generative AI, it's a different concept altogether. We use something which is called as diffusion networks, and they can learn huge amount of data, but at the same time generate something. So we create something which is called as prompts. We give this to the models with some specific instructions, and based on these instructions, these models could generate new things. So that is completely generative AI. So it is not something like a binary. So replace this whole dog image with some Python code. So you are typing a code, a prompt telling that, hey, I want to create a list, or I want to create a Python code for creating uh, a nested loop, or creating a simple list or whatever. And this generative AI models could generate the code for us. So at the crux, if we see, coding has become more easier with this prompt being integrated into this IDEs, which is that nothing but the environment where we are going to do the coding, and its efficiency has improved a lot. Yeah. So let's look into what can get into the generative AI models, right? So basically, we think generative AI is all about text. So if when we are using ChatGPT, be it the licensed version or be it the non-licensed version, always ChatGPT is something where we have texts, images being generated, but it is also beyond that, right? So let's look here. In this, we see text, images, speech, video, and structured data, but it is not only restricted to that. So recently, there was a paper that I was reading where they are doing generative AI models even for baby cry. Okay, so what do you mean by baby cry? So let's say a 3 months or 4 months old baby, when it cries, they really wanted to figure out what the baby is crying for. Okay, and convert that signals into some kind of a response, and ask this models like, why is my baby crying? And then the model gives you an output like telling, this crying pattern says that the baby is hungry, or this crying pattern matches with something like the baby is in trouble or hurt or something like that. So if this advancements could happen, again, the core concept is about LLMs, which is large language models. And what are the things that we can do on top of this is question answering, right? So we can today use LLMs for our coding. Let's say you have a code and the code is with some mistakes. So you put this back to your Gen AI models, and then you can ask your models, is my code right? Okay, so the models can very well say where exactly your code is going wrong. So they can act like a Q&A on your coding that you are doing. Okay. And information extraction is something that you can say that, hey, this is my piece of code. Now from this code, tell me what this code is doing. So earlier, if you want to understand code, especially when someone is from a non-technical background, let's say people are from HR, testing, and our team is a very diverse team, right? Usually, when you take any projects, there are always like people who are with less coding experience, and then we have people with high coding experience. So in order to get into this transformation, these tools are super helpful, because if even if someone has written the code and we can get that piece of code, we can just use these language models, put the code as it is, and then you can put a prompt telling, hey, can you explain me the code line by line, or word by word. Okay, and this LLMs can efficiently explain these codings in a very simple language. Yeah. And Object recognition is basically doesn't apply to codings, but it can apply to other things like say images, text files, where we can put our images and then we can say that, hey, out of this picture, can you say that what is present in the image or describe the image basically, right? And also for anything like image captioning, so you have an image and then you wanted to title this. So where exactly this application happens. So let's think about something like booking.com. Okay. And in booking.com, you get a lot of posters of different events. And these events are supposed to be given some fancy titles. So if you have to do this manually, we need to put someone who is validating these images, sitting and labeling them, seeing each image, trying to understand the context of the image, and then give the label. But these GenAI models can identify what is within the image. They can give n number of options. Like say you can even use them as some kind of a enabler that helps you to do these things faster. So they can label the image and then say or describe the image as it is in a very faster way. Yeah. So GenAI, it's I would say the application is way higher. But today our goal is to see how I can use Python or do the coding of Python using this prompt that is present. Yeah. Then then the question that we may have is why did we choose Python and why not something like R programming or something like Java or something like C Sharp? Yeah. So every language, yes, has its own advantage and disadvantage, but weighing the um, benefits that we have when in terms of using Python as a programming language is that Python is pretty simple to understand. As I said, it's literally like English. So if you are coding for the first time and you see a Python code, you can easily understand it. So it's not going to be something like completely in a new alien language. No, that's definitely not there. Yeah, and it's purely free. It's like we need not have any license for that. And the IDEs that is present where we are going to write code has there are numerous number of platforms. So in the current organizations, it's like they are enabled with platforms like Spider, which is also free, or you can decode your codes. If you want to write it in a very more specialized way for machine learning and other things, you can use Google's repository, which is called as Collab. Then use something called as Jupyter Notebooks, which is part of an environment called Anaconda. And there are a number of such IDEs available, okay, user interfaces which can be used. And second, and the next one is it has a good community support. So say for example, whenever there is a new library that is present, it it easily comes in a Python library. So in 2000 late 2000 20s, right, or 20s to 10s time frame, there was something which is called as Rajini Python library. Trust me, there is something like this. So why I'm saying this is, by the way, Rajini is an actor in the Indian in the South Indian film industry, and with his thing, they created an open source library just to make sure that there is some funny command prompts that you can give, and this library executes command for you that way. But it's the core working or the background is based out of Python. And Python is quite faster, not so fast as C Sharp, but its background is all running on C Sharp. So if you take a Python code, the wrapper sits over a C Sharp compiler. So it's not as fast as C++, but definitely it is faster compared to other languages like R programming, which has been widely used. Yeah, and this language also connects to multiple other things. So you can connect this to the web language, to your front ends. This language can be connected easily to pipelines, like say SQL, then something like Spark. This language can also be converted to serving things. If you want to convert this to an API, then you can easily do it. If you want to convert this to a jar file, you can also convert a Python code into a jar file. So these integrations are all possible. At the same time, Python can also act like a tool. So there are a lot of Python libraries to read PDFs. Okay, Python libraries to convert videos to audio files. Sorry, videos to images, and images to GIF, or audio files to matrix formats. So these kind of things are easily available as libraries. So there are a lot of libraries which are present, and any problem statement that we have and we are looking for some kind of a tool, then Python becomes the best go-to place. Yeah. So these are the reasons why we use it. And the application, as I said, is not only limited to web development, and especially when we talk about developing models, it is not necessary that we have to be someone like a web developer who is extraordinary coder and stuff like that. It is no more a norm. So what is really needed is to use Python as a language to establish the simpler task that you have. So it need not be super complicated or super sophisticated, but unless the purpose is solved, I would say within the premises of data science, it's more than enough to get started. Yeah. And we can use the same language also for any kind of visualization that we want to do. Okay, so basically, if you want to create something like a bar chart or any kind of visualizations graphically, that's purely possible with Python. And even if you want to get to the next level, you want to enhance yourself instead of the data science, we wanted to try out other things like say software development. There also we use Python in a large scale. Yeah. And Python is everywhere. So it is included or used in multiple places. Okay, right from YouTube's models till something like NASA, Python is everywhere. So it is not specific to just programming. I would say it is beyond programming across multiple domains and horizons. So when I say horizons, I talk about different things like say banking, finance. We are in the entertainment industry, so entertainment. It's then sports, and then payments industry. Everywhere you see, it's like it's still it's doable. And you know what, it's like right now, even if you speak to people who are doing some kind of a non-IT course or a program, they would be doing something in physics, they would be doing something in chemistry. You speak to them, they will say that they are doing something with Python. Okay, so which means that it is no more something like an IT topic or an IT subject, but it has become more across multiple things. Even a bank guy whom I met, he also said that he is using Python for doing his calculations and stuff. I was super surprised because earlier it used to be spreadsheets, but people are now moving slowly into uh, assuming or using Python as some basic enablement tool for them to build stuffs. Yeah, good. So in Python, yes, you can write simple block level codes. So when I say block level codes, today we will just see block level codes, which means we will try to write simple prompts one after the other. So it's a line by line execution. But we can enhance the same Python language to object oriented programming as well, which means we can write them in terms of inheritance, classes, with all OOPS concept in place. We can still enhance our coding to that standard levels as well. And also, it is highly built on data structures. And the data structures is not so complicated. It is very simple and straightforward, because when you compare this with Java, the complexity of data structures is so huge, but in Python, the complexity is very, very minimal, right? And also uh, the garbage collection in Python is also very easy. So what do I mean by garbage collection? So when you execute Python code, the debugging that we can do can be done line by line syntactically. Okay. And Python also easily recognizes where exactly things goes wrong. So it can easily point out to uh, the spot of error. And as I said, now with the power of this LLM models that we have in place, it is even more easier. So debugging is way too easier with all these language models in place. Yeah. Okay. So what are the different data that we have? So if we take the industry that I'm in, it's like basically we cut across multiple data. Okay, one is called a structured data, and the next one is called data. So a structure could be anything like an image, image of an artist, image of a person. It could be anything like a video file that is present. So anything of this sort is still considered as unstructured because it doesn't have proper rows and columns. So if some data can be represented in rows and columns, we call it as a structured data, okay, which has a proper uh, dimension to it. So in that option, so within the spectrum of structured data, the data types that we have are mainly this 7 sequences, right? So one is Boolean. So basically to say whether a customer is is ready to purchase a event ticket or not. Okay, so that is true or false. Okay, so basically when we talk about whether a person will churn out of a company, yes or no. So that is like Boolean. So always a binary 1 to 0. The next one is a string. A string data type stores something which is a string. So a string is a string. So it could be alphabets, it could be made out of numbers, but always it is represented in single or double quotes. Okay. So this is called as a text field, or in Python we call it as a string field. Then the next one is numeric. In numeric, we have three data types. One is integer, which is always without decimals. Then we have float, which comes with decimal points. And then we have complex. So complex is something we, in usual terms, we call something as scientific notations, right? It's like, so if the same value is very, very small, so if it is 0.00007 or 000 some other values, it gets converted into some kind of scientific notations. So that is also still possible to be stored as part of numerical attributes. Then we have sequence. So the sequence is broken down into two things. One is called list. So a list looks something with a square bracket in the beginning. So it's a list is a collection of multiple data types, or it could be single data type as well. So we can put something like completely numbers, or we could put something like a mix of numbers and string values together. Okay, so here we see that the first one is a number, then the next one is a string because it's in double quotes, and then next is an integer. So where do we use this? Let's say you want to do an operation for multiple people. Let's say you want to, um, I will give you a simple example. You have the ages of all people, okay, right from uh, person starting from with alphabet A till Z, you have everybody in the list. Okay. But what you wanted to do is for each of them, you wanted to do the age calculation. So first you want to do with for the person whose name starts with A, then with the person B, C, D, E, F, like this. So there is a huge list of people, but the action is common, which is basically we need to find the age of the person based on the date of birth that we have. In this case, we use something like a list. Okay, so a list will have everybody, and then we know that we have to do this across all the elements that are present within the list. Okay, and uh, next one, it's like, so again, list can also be used whenever you have multiple elements to establish. So say for example, in the prediction world, let's say I want to do a prediction against three different possibilities. Let's say there is a text that is present. For the text, I need to know whether the emotion is positive, negative, or neutral, the customer emotion. So I just create a list and say these are the possible values, and say the values could be neutral, happy, or sad. Okay, so only three things. So I add these things. Then how different is this tuple from list? Both looks almost the same, but there is a difference. Okay, a tuple once it is, or tuple when once it is created, it can never be modified. Once created, it's created. In a list, you can add another element. So say for example, the example I said about emotions, right? So you have sad, then you have happy, then you have neutral. Tomorrow I want to add something like um, sarcastic as one of the emotions, or unsatisfied as one of the emotions, or feeling scary, afraid. That is one emotion. But I just wanted to enhance this prediction. Given some feedback, from the feedback, I wanted to predict what exactly I need to do. So this list can keep on changing. Okay. But when we talk about tuple, it cannot change. Okay. So it is always fixed. Say, for example, it could be something like um, gender. Okay. You just create three genders. You say male, female, and the third one is, you can say something like other genders. And you never want to change this or modify this. Another application of tuple is, let's say you created a project and you do not want to assign new responsibilities to anybody. Okay. And you want to give the responsibility only with three people. Okay. Only with Debashis, and then Jasmine, and then with Shelton, only three people. Okay. For the three people, we can just put this into the tuple and then say that only for this three, it can never be modified. So, which means that I cannot go ahead and say append one more item to it, or I cannot say drop one element from this. Okay. So it is basically a point of decision between the two things where you decide, should I want something which is unchangeable, or should I want something which can be changed? So that's where this decision between list and tuple, but rest all operations are almost the same. So whatever you can do with tuple, you can still do it. Yeah. The next one is dictionary. So dictionary is like dictionary, right? It's like, so basically what we do in dictionary, we have a word, and then for this particular word, we just look up for an alternate word, a synonym, right? The same thing goes here. So you have um, an object. Okay, so we call it as key value. For this key, there is a value called Python. Okay, and then the subject is number one. So I can create something like a column name, which is name. Under this, I'm just going to populate Python. Okay, and then the next column name is number, and the value is one. So if I want to do this repeatedly, I can create a dictionary like this, and then say name. Okay, and then I can say number. Okay, and then I can create multiple such dictionaries, and then say Python number one, and then R programming number two, Java number three, etc. So you can have multiple dictionaries which can give this references. So also you can relate dictionary to something like a lookup. So you have a value. For this value, what is the corresponding, sorry, so this is a key. And for this key, what is the corresponding value that I have? Okay, so a very simple example could be that m hyphen male, comma, f hyphen female. So maybe somewhere in the code we are using M and F as a reference, but what does that M and F mean? So you can use a dictionary as a reference, and then we can say M means male and F means female. So that translation can be done using the dictionary mapping that we have. Okay, so sets and tuple would look alike, but they are not exactly the same. A set is something which definitely cannot have duplicates within it. So a set is always unique, and set is has many properties very similar to the list and tuple. Okay, but keep one thing in mind: a set has to be homogeneous. Okay, which means it can have only one kind of a data type, not have a multiple mix of things. Okay, so if it is purely numerical, it's purely numerical. If it is purely categorical, then it's purely categorical. Yeah, and then we have bytes, which is again binary. So you can just convert the whole thing into binary values. So, and basically there are other libraries to typically create your ASCII values and stuff like that. So why are we looking into these things? Because now, as we step into the next segment, we are going to start with very foundational, basic um, coding at the beginning, but we will do our coding based on this basic data types that are present. Okay. Okay. And what can we do within Python? Within Python, we can do all these operations. One is arithmetic operations. So basically, when you have operations like plus, minus, division, subtraction, addition, and multiplication, all these things will be arithmetic operators. An assignment operator is you can assign values. Say, for example, we can say something like a is equal to 10, which means that the value 10 is stored in a variable called a. Okay. And then we can say that greater than or equal to, right? It's like, so we can compare, let's say b is equal to 20. Now you want to know whether if a is greater than b. So you can do this comparison as well. So that is relational operators. So you have less than, greater than, then you have not equal to, and then so this is not equal to, right? And this one as well. So we can do these operators as relational operators, and logical operators are basically combiners. So you can look for two conditions. So you can say A has to be greater than B and B has to be less than C. So this is a logical operator. So you can just have it as an OR condition, or you can have it as this pipeline sign means OR. So it is either or. Yeah. Okay. And then we have a condition checking, which is identity, whether it is or is not. So A is equal to B, equals B, or not equals. Okay, so those kind of operators are identity operators. Or you can say something is present in this list of things. So those kind of things are. An in operator is basically you can write something like where city in. Okay, and then you can give a list of city names. So which means in means only in this given list of options some condition is fulfilled. Okay, so whether something is present or not present is represented with in and not in conditions. Okay, and last one is bitwise operators. So you can either add ampersand, which is also bitwise, and then the cap sign. Okay, so this is like exclusion. So when you write regular expressions, so what are regular expressions? So say for example we have something like Python 26, Python alone. Okay, so there's two things. So you can use a regular expression and you can say that exclude list whichever is only text data. So we can write something like which is going to be from 0 to 9, which means that it excludes anything which is numbers, and maybe this is not going to be used, but basically anything which is non numeric numbers, we can pull them out. Okay, so these are the basic conditions that we have. Maybe we can just start to have a quick feel of the code, and it becomes easier for us to identify this. Yeah. So when you write a token, or when we write a small piece of code, what are the things that we literally need? Okay, so we need the basic keyword. Okay, so let's say we want to create something like a print statement, do a print statement. The keyword is print here. Okay, so we will type the word print, that is the keyword. Then punctuators, sometimes you need semicolons, sometimes you need double colons and stuff like that. And operators, so you want to compare something, a is equal to b, then print. So a equal to b or not equal to b, that is the operators, right? And then this is surrounded by these kind of things, and identifiers basically refers to the variables that you are using, and then you can incorporate them to create a very simple line of code. Okay, so let's see how this works. And in Python, there is a very big advantage that we have. Why again Python is because of the Python packages. When we write a code, we need not write everything from the scratch, which means that let's say we want to have two lists, and this two list wants to be concatenated, or it has to be created as a table, like rows and columns. If we want to do this, we can easily use an existing library in order to do this function. So it might have taken some 10 to 20 lines of code if we want to join something manually and do it. But we don't do that. Instead, we use the packages that are present, which are Python libraries, and we use the functions out of these libraries directly in order to write those codes. Okay, so which means that the coding complexity is very, very minimal. You just import the libraries, and from the libraries, we call the functions to create it. And these days, these libraries are all inbuilt. So when we install Python in our environment, right, in our laptop, and you can see that without even needing any kind of admin privileges or anything, by default, you will see Python with pandas, NumPy being installed. So what are these libraries? On a very high level, pandas is a library that is used to deal with table data or tabular data. So anything that is in forms of rows and columns, imagine like a spreadsheet. Okay, so you have something like an age column, then date of birth column, and then the name of the person. So this is a data frame. So if we want to drop a column, drop a row, or add another data frame to it, join it, or left join, right join, any SQL related operations, the same equivalent can be done with Python. So I can very well say that if you are a SQL guy, you can replace your whole SQL commands with Python pandas. Yeah, and NumPy is basically when you deal with something with arrays. Okay, so basically your data is just uh, one arrayed or one dimensional arrayed. Let's say 6 comma 8 comma 9. So this is a 1 cross 3 array. Okay, so it is a it is not like a rows and columns, right? Basically, this is only one row that is present, and with 1, 2, 3, 4 elements. So 1 cross 4, that's it. It's not like multiple rows are present. So for this kind of data where your data is in an array format and you want to manipulate anything within this array, then we use NumPy. Matplot and Seaborn, both these libraries are used for visualizations. Okay, so you can create something like a graph, okay, a pie chart, a bar graph. Then you can use something like a scatter plot, anything that you want to create visualization, we can use these libraries in place. Okay, then to build machine learning models. So am I going to build the model right from scratch? Because I'm called as a data scientist. Does it mean that I have to build my entire model from the scratch? The answer is a big no. Okay, so we start everything with existing libraries, and scikit-learn is one of the providers of that one. So it's a framework. So the framework provides a lot of libraries which can be used directly to build the machine learning algorithms. Okay, and scientific Python is for anything that we do statistically. Okay, what simple example can I give is when you do something like a mean average value, we want to find the median value. Okay, those kind of things, or you want to find a p-value, whether something is significant or not. Those kind of things, we need not write the code again manually, because this comes from the library called as scientific Python. Okay, scipy. Okay, and TensorFlow is for building neural networks, like algorithms like deep learning. Everything is based out of TensorFlow. So these are the packages that we have, and there are also more packages which are present, but we are not getting into it, right? So as I said, pandas is mainly for anything that is structured data. It could be like a table, so which means the data can come from CSVs, Excels, and you can use this basically for merging the data, splitting the data, grouping the data, right? And pandas and NumPy together is for ND array. So when I say ND array, is it's unidirectional array, and in it here basically we're not talking about anything like a table or a data frame, but basically it is uni column. It's like a single array of column, and on this we can do multiple operations like say multiplication, complex. So, or in simple words, if I have to put this, imagine NumPy is something like a matrix. Okay, like a matrix. So for any matrix operation, we deal with NumPy. Okay, you can keep it simple as that. Okay, so with all these tools together is what we use our data create our data science models. So they all come in play to provide different capabilities when we start doing our analytics work. Okay, so they are independent of each other. Of course, every module is independent, but you will find that sequentially they are getting utilized. The result of a pandas could be used for a graphical representation, or when you use something in a graph, maybe using that you create some models. So basically they are interconnected, but definitely the packages are independent of each other. Okay, now the question is, again, everybody has a doubt now. Hey, the topic's at Gen AI, but you are still talking about Python basics. Prasanna, I saw your question. Okay, so ideally, what I we are connecting is now this part. Okay, so what is an IDE? An IDE is an integrated development environment. So you need to write your code somewhere, right? You cannot write your code on a notepad. Yes, of course you can write it, but you cannot execute it. So where can I write a code and get it executed? So there are multiple IDEs present. One of them is Jupyter Notebooks. Then one of them is Colab, which is provided by Google on its own cloud, which means that if you have a Google account, you definitely have a Colab account automatically. Already you have it. Okay. Then you have PyCharm and Spider, which is all traditional uh, environments where you can run your Python coding. But beyond everything, right? What has happened in the recent days is these libraries, especially when it comes to Google Colab, has been the most preferred space where we started writing codes. Why? This is completely on the cloud, which means that I do not need my company laptop to open my code on another laptop. Okay, so if you are writing a code in your home using a home laptop, but you use Colab, even if you go and open this, it's very similar to Gmail. Is Gmail specific to one laptop? The answer is no, right? You can open the same Gmail in your sister's computer, in your wife's or husband's computer, anywhere you can open it, you will still find it. The same way, the same coding environment through your Google account can be opened in multiple environments. And that's why we say that it's a cloud-based one, right? So, and it's easily editable and it can be edited even in your mobile phone, typically. So if you have a mobile phone and you want to edit the code, you can edit it within your Collab itself. Okay, there is no app yet, but I hope there will be an app soon. And the next advantage is Google also gives compute power to us. Okay, so our laptop at the moment is very much limited. Let's say even if the company laptop provides something like say 32 GB, that's the max we have, right? Or 64 GB at the max. I'm talking about the RAM. But in order to process data, it's good if we use high compute systems. I'm talking about RAM equivalent. So it could be like when I say equivalent to RAM, that enables something in terms of process. So it could be a RAM, it could be your graphics card, which is the GPU. Okay. But what happens when we use Collab is that automatically, I'm now connecting to a Collab. So this is the Collab environment here. You can click on new notebook. Yeah. So, and now I am on Collab. So you can see here that there is something called as runtime. Yeah. And you can very well go ahead and connect to the runtime. Okay. So let's see here. Yeah. So it shows the local system RAM. Okay. How much is the local RAM supporting? At the same time, how much of hard disk is available? This is all good. But beyond that, you can also connect to second. Yeah. So here you can see that you can connect to GPU, which is from Google. Okay. So Google will give you GPU instances so that your code runs faster. So they give it for free. Of course, we need to, if you want, you can buy additional collab. So uh, usually this is provided by the company, right? It's like, so they pay for it. But this T4 GPU is for free. So you can also do an upgrade if you want. Okay. So if you want to try with huge things. So what do you think is the compute size? The compute size by itself is something that would be something like around 256 GB of RAM. Imagine something like 250 GB RAM that is available to run something. I'm not talking about hard disk. I'm talking about a RAM. And if this RAM is enabled for you to run some process, basically your Python code, imagine how fast your code will run. Okay. And that is exactly what we are trying to show here. The T4 is one of an example for it. It is definitely not so huge because it's given for free. But in real projects, you can connect to any kind of this compute to make your code run faster. Okay. So long story short, imagine like it's an artificial RAM that is given to you for executing the code in a faster way. Okay. Yeah. So these are the advantages. So that's why we stick with Google Colab. And in Google Colab, as I said, it also comes with the Gen AI capability. See here, there is something called Gemini here, right? So here we can easily ask for prompts. Okay. Create a table in Python with rows and columns. If I type this, the Gemini can give me the code immediately. Okay, a sample code. Okay. Of course, this is one huge advantage of using a code-based system. So you have the support from Gemini, which is based out of the LLM model. Here it gives the code. Now, let's not get into what this code is doing, but let's see a couple of things that I was talking about. It's literally like English, right? It's like, so first we are using the library called pandas. Why? Because it's like a table, correct? It has a column called name, age, and city. These are the column names. Yeah. And these are the values within the columns. And then this is the age, and this is the city, correct? So name, age, and city. So there are three columns and then three values. And it is all written like a dictionary. So you remember I showed you what a dictionary is. It's like a lookup, right? So for the name, this is Alice, Bob, and Charlie. And age is this. And we are creating a data frame. Data frame means it's like a table. So basically, and then we are displaying it. So if you want to create something, the code is given here. So we can copy the code and you can just say plus code. You can just paste it here and then execute it. Yeah, now the table is created. So it's a very simplest and easiest way that this LLM model is enabled within the environment. So we need not go outside to ChatGPT or somewhere, but because it's already enabled with this environment. And even here, line by line, we can ask the model to generate code for us so that it becomes easy to debug it. Okay. So let's say I'm doing a mistake here. Okay. I removed the comma and I'm going to run it. You see this, it says invalid, but the beauty of having the GenAI model is I click on fix error. Okay, it literally points me to where exactly it is. Okay, so it's also giving me a suggestion. Perhaps you forgot a comma. So I say yes, and then it has fixed it. Okay, so why are we even You need not activate it. It's like if you are on Collab and you are signed in, definitely you would be able to see this. Yeah. So it is already integrated part. That's what I'm saying. So is it only present in Collab? The answer is no. Okay, because there are new tools coming in the market every single day. So there is a very recent one which is called as. So I will execute this again, and now it is done. Yeah, fixed. Okay. So very recently there is something which is called as Cursor, Cursor, which is called Cursor. And Cursor is basically a library that it's not a library. It's again a language model, and using that, it's literally like zero code. Okay, so we need not spend much time in basically coding from the beginning. So we can just code it at a very high level. So we just need to put in prompts, and then the prompts gets converted into coding, and you can even we can even write things up to building our own mobile application just with this basic coding elements. Okay, so it is that powerful. Okay, now let's start with very basic fundamentals in place, right? So I'm going to start with something like, okay, writing. So I'm on here. Okay, so this is how our first thing will look like. So you can just go to collab, collab.google. Here we click on new notebook, and it opens a new notebook. And here you can rename your file. So let's say project Gen AI. Okay. Now within this, you can also locate it in your drive. It will be in your drive. Okay. So typically it will create a location within your drive called collab notebooks. And then you will find your notebooks are all going to reside there. Okay. Then there are two segments here, right? It's like one, there is a code, and then there is a text, right? So when you click on code, it will actually create something where you can literally write a Python code. But text is something where you can write a markdown. Markdown means you can just write some commands here. So something like this. This is my first code. Okay. So this is done. So then you can add a code. So this has become like a header. Okay. So if you give just two hashes, then it will look even bigger. Okay. So you can also make this bold. Yeah, this is my first code. Now I'm gonna write a simple print statement like English. Print. Next question is, what should I print? So print, and I say this is my first program. Okay. Now I literally wrote this, and I said print, and we gave the command that is needed. Yeah. Then execute it. It's because I have opened too many sessions. Yeah. So this is my first program. Now let's try this with Gen AI, right? So here you see there is an option called generate with AI. Let's say we are beginning the coding, right? It's like I know we are a mix of team where someone is already good at coding, but not everybody. So if we are thinking about upskilling, just a moment, please. Sorry.
Yeah, guys. So before Ms. Shelton comes ahead, I'd like to just set up the context that we'll have an end-to-end QA session during the last part of our discussion. So I'll request all of you to note down all of your questions that you would have to interact with Mr. Shelton. All right, please. Yeah.
Hey, thank you, people. Yeah. So let's talk about this one. Now I wanted to check if this what I wrote is absolutely fine, right? So I'm just gonna click on this generate, and then I say, okay, okay. So literally I'm just saying this in English, right? It's like basically I'm not giving anything, but it generates what I need. Okay. So it also gives me a very important update. This is what is very critical. It says use it responsibly, and it also says generative code AI assistance is not reliable. So it will just say that we are not responsible for anything that is. So you need to test it by yourself. You have to review the code yourself, and all the vulnerabilities that is present is purely up to us to evaluate. Now this is the catch where we really need to mention a critical point that even though there is Gen AI that is present, we are enabling this for everywhere in all the major projects that we are doing, etc. But it is just like one level of better guidance and one level of better way of coding, but it is definitely not going to replace this. Yeah. So we have to be mindful that coding is very critical. Syntax learning is very critical, and Python from the basics is very, very critical. But these things on the top enhances my coding. It is definitely not going to replace my coding, because I'll tell you something. When we showed this example, right, where I was asking to create a table, create a table with 3 rows and 3 columns. Okay, I type this and I say generate. It is creating columns like this. Okay, and I give an error. I just removed the comma and I'm running this. It says fix error, but perhaps you forgot a comma. So this is just a suggestion. It is putting back the question again to the user who's typing this. Okay. So it is not telling that this is exactly what it is wrong. It is again asking the developer, the data science person who is writing this code, to say whether this suggestion is correct or wrong. So if the person is like completely out of knowledge, and they do not know that, okay, so the comma is needed between the lines, we would lack the basic fundamentals. Okay, so let's also be very cautious. So if it, okay, it did a good thing, so I'm giving a thumbs up. But ideally the goal is that we start with basics. Everyone needs this basics. Yeah. Okay, then the next one, basically, okay, so right now we did a printing. So I just wanted to do something like a variable assignment. So what is a variable, right? So you can also use Gemini here. Let's say you are very new and you wanted to start something very fundamental, right? It's like, so you are going to start with variable assignment. How do I assign a variable? Okay. So we are having a prompt here. So it teaches us the very fundamental thing. Yeah. How do we assign? So now let's connect back to what we saw here. Okay. What did we see here is a code that we write is always surrounded by 5 elements. Okay, keywords, punctuators, operators, literals, and identifiers. So here, let's connect those things that we are talking about. A variable name is here. Here there is an operator where we are checking some value, and here there is literally a value that is getting assigned. So what is a variable? A variable is like a pot, or it is like a storage place. It's like a temporary place where you can put in information. So why it is temporary? Because once I close this notebook, that variable will go away. So I can say variable, and then I can say, or you can type whatever you want. You can just say var, okay, and then you can say is equal to Shelton. Now this is throwing an error. It is throwing some lines underneath. Why? Because the name Shelton is actually a string, and usually strings are to be represented as double quotes. Okay. So now if I want to print this where, okay, it prints it. So this is just a simple storage where some data is stored in some kind of a variable in some places. Okay. So can I store something like, can I overwrite this? Yes, of course I can overwrite this. So now the value is now replaced with something else. So I'm just checking this where, and now it is no more referring to my initial one, but it shows 34, the number. Okay. We can also do mathematical operations here. Let's say I am taking a variable called a is equal to 20, and then I say b is equal to 30. And then I can do a simple operator like say a plus b, and then execute it. Okay. So this is a simple operator where we are trying to establish this a plus b. Okay, so simple addition. Next, I just wanted to do some multiplication. Yes, of course, we can do the same thing. So you can multiply things, you can divide. Yes, of course, you can divide it. If you do not need the denominator, a double slash, in the sense it's a modulo, which means it will just send you the numerator alone. The remainder is never sent. Okay, so here it is actually 0.66. When you do this double modulo, it will return 0. Why? There is no actual big number here. So let's say 30 divided by 10. Okay, a slash b is also going to be 3. Okay, a modulo b is also going to be 3. But let's say it is 33 divided by 30 divided by 9 now. Okay, so a slash b is 3.33. When you give double modulo, it will just be 3. So whatever is remainder is all removed. Okay, so you know that these are all basic data types that we have. So I can assign also decimals to it. Okay, 30.99 a plus b. So between two data types, so this is a float, which means it's a decimal value. This is an integer, but still I can add these two things. How about this one? C is equal to Python. Now, question to you. Can I add a plus c? What do you think? I'm trying this. And look at this, unsupported operand plus float and string. Okay. Now, here is where generative AI comes into picture. You wrote a code and it is error. Previously, you will never see this below part. It's like this one will never be here. Okay. So you will never know that there is something like, okay, it will just say this one. Of course, this error by itself is supposed to explain you the problem. So of course, I know that you cannot add a string because Python is a string value and this is a plus operation. So you cannot add a string to a number, correct? Everybody knows that. But let's say we are very basic beginners to this particular coding. You can easily use the Gen AI option called explain error, and it will debug the code for us. Okay. It says maybe you need to convert this number also into a string. So something like this. You can either put this also as a string. Okay. Now it is not a number, but it is like 30.99 Python, something like this. Or you can do C plus A, something like a Python version, no? Python 30.99. So this is acceptable. But when it was number, it was not the case. It will still throw an error. Okay, it can concatenate only float to the string. It cannot. So here is already the suggestions that you have got. What likely is going to be the problem? Yeah, but again, a disclaimer: you are rating the response, which means you need to be good in some kind of a coding level, not so extremely extraordinary, I wouldn't say, but at least you need to be having some kind of an understanding to determine, okay, hey, this makes sense to me, or it doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, is it clear? Um, are you getting to understand what connection we have got with today's topic back to the coding? Um, yeah, maybe you can respond in the chat so that I can see how well you are getting this. Yeah, thanks. Okay, so uh, I see again. I will tell you something. This is basically for people who are getting new into coding. So uh, people who are seeing, okay, what is this session about? They are teaching us variables and stuff. Some people may think, oh, it is very foundational. It's actually not for people who are extremely good at coding. So this is something where we are trying to show you the connection between Gen AI, which is an evolving field, and then how this can connect back to a complex topic as well. Okay, so now let's move to little bit of more advanced topics. Okay, so we did see very simple things. So let's move with something very more foundational. So I want to create a list. Okay, so but you never know how to create a syntax. So you are saying I want to create a list and then remove last number from the list. Okay, this is what I want to achieve, and I click on generate. So it immediately gives me what syntax I have to follow. So how do I create a list? I need a variable to assign my list. So numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I already have a outframed this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I want to remove the last number. So pop is the command which will remove this. So let's see if this is working. So as you can see, now if you, the my list stored 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but pop was the command to remove this. Okay. So maybe you have to say that the first number. Okay, I just want to remove the first number maybe. Yeah. So now the code becomes little more complex because pop command always removes the last index. Okay. So what are we trying to do here? So we are trying to say that you can remove all these things. Okay, it's creating the old code. So you create a list. Okay. And in that particular list, we are finding the length of the list, and then it comes here. But do you think the syntax is correct? Where is it going wrong? Look at this. It is building me or bringing me everything that I wrote. Okay, so whatever code I wrote in the previous sentence, it is also bringing that, because this is, the prompt is still having the memory of the previous commands that we wrote. So it is pulling these things back. Okay, so these things are something that is getting clear day by day. So because this Gen AI as integrated part of your collab by itself was something very recent. Okay, so it came up just a year back, uh, typically, and that needs little bit of code writing. Suyash, it's like, so basically you write only one prompt at a time, and then you move to the next prompt. So what is quite challenging with today's coding environment is that there is not much of a correlation that the code can make to the previous segment. So say for example, if I write something like to the my list, add a new number. If I say this and I generate it, okay, it it is able to connect, okay, there is something called my list, and I just need to append it. Okay, now look at what happens. So I'm going to write a new prompt, So here, if I run this my list, you see that there is a new number 6 added. It is referencing to my previous code. Okay, now I'm going to write the next prompt. So I'm going to say that now multiply this with my variable here. Okay, so here we have defined a is equal to 30.99. So I'm going to reference that. Okay, and I look at this. What's happening here? Okay, the prompt is good. Okay, but it still recalls whatever I had in my first line because I was referring to a is equal to 30.99. Okay, that is what it is. So it is trying to recollect everything that is in the first. So it's bringing all these things together. Then it's multiplying. Yes, of course, the answer is finally correct. But in order to achieve that, it is duplicating my code piece again and again. Do you see that? It's like I just said, okay, now 3 steps later, I'm just trying to add this or multiply this, right? So this is something which is more of a sensitive thing that we have to be mindful that yes, your model code can do really good things. Your Gen AI, Gemini can support a lot of good attributes. Yes, of course, but don't think that it is just going to do magic all of a sudden. Okay, so it's not fully magic. Okay, so you need some kind of coding knowledge in order to follow up where exactly things are going right or where things are not going right. So that governance is literally needed here. Okay, but what we can do better with Gen AI is another piece of a prompt here. So this is generation that we are doing line by line for execution, but I can write the same thing here as a one single prompt. Okay, let's look at this now. So I'm going to say create a list and remove the last number, in the list, and multiply the list with variable a. Now this is where, so there are two Gen AI components here. One is your inline Gen AI component, which is here, which generates line by line. And this is the general thing. Typically, you can compare this to a chat GPT kind of, okay, which is an isolated module which you have for code debugging and code writing, okay, with variable a. Can I execute this? Yeah. So look at this. It is now a very clean code it gives me. So it has created a list, okay. It pops up the last number, and then it's recollecting a is equal to 30.99 because this prompt is really nice because the one which you use here is able to bring that 30.99 which we used here, right here. So what's happening here is there are two Gen AI components here. So this Gen AI component, which is Gemini, will remember everything in your notebook. So all whatever you have typed in gets into your Gemini's memory. So we call it as token size. So a token size is how far it can remember in the past. So how many previous information it can store. It can keep remembering that. So it is a large context model. So that's why it is able to remember that. And then it is able to give you an amplified result. Yeah, in a very clean way. So now you can also say, make it more standardized with more detailed explanation of the code. Okay, so if you want to have some kind of a code standardization that you need to do. Okay, so maybe for me, I feel that this explanation is not enough for my code. I can just ask my LLM model to generate a very detailed one. Okay. So now compare these two results that you see on the top versus what you see here. So the prompt has made a difference. So it has created an execution plan. Also, you can ask, show me the execution plan for the same, how it got executed. Yeah. So I'm asking how this got executed. So it is explaining me the code now. So you see what I told you sometime back was about exactly the same thing. So we were talking about explainability, right? Question answering, right? And it can also do image captioning. But of course, here we are not talking about image and its explanation, but we are talking about code and its explanation. It's literally explaining me how the execution is happening within that. Yeah. So again, you may have a question. Can I do the reverse thing and ask the model to explain my code? Okay. So this is the code that my GenAI model created. So let's say you are put in a project, okay, and this project needs someone who is understanding the current code, and based on the current code, they have to solve some problems, but you have no idea because the code doesn't have any kind of um, what to say, any kind of syntaxes. It doesn't have, sorry, any kind of command lines, uh, no proper comments mentioned, nothing is present. So what do we do now? So basically, you can also do code retranslation using your model. Okay, so say for example, I'm going to take a simple piece of code. Okay, so what do you understand from this? We are going to create a data frame using pandas. Pandas is the one which is used for creating a data frame, right? So which is having these values, and it is for the city of Mumbai, Nagpur, etc. And this is the data. Once I created, this is the data that I have, right? Now I want my model. Okay, so you can say, explain me the code. Okay, and then you can pass on the code. Okay, so it is taking each line by line. I think you are able to see it. It takes each line by line, and then it starts to explain what it is. Okay, so of course, prompt governance can go even detailed. It's like, say you are a beginner, so you can say explain this as if I'm a beginner. So it gives you very solid explanation. So it compares the rows and columns to Legos. Okay, and then it starts explaining the same concept again. So it says import, this is like a tool container to build your Legos, etc., etc. So think of this. Now you are learning coding. Now you can connect this to explanation support, which is provided within the IDE, and it's completely free. That's the beauteous part here. Okay. So if you want to generate coding out of it, traditionally we have to write something called as um, matplot codes and then Cborn codes, everything. Um, okay, matplot codes and other things, right? So basically, we don't do that right now with this particular data frame that is in place. Let's say I can also see what are the suggestions that I can create. Can I create a scatter plot? Can I, what kind of graphs that I can create with this? Why is this important? This is very important because for data science, we have a concept which is called as exploratory data analysis. We compare things. Okay, so let's say there is a age and then people buying a product or not. Okay, so certain age people are buying the product and certain age people are not buying the product. How will we know that there is such kind of information present in the data? So this can be visualized using some kind of graphs. So you can also create those prompts or visualization graphs as well as with this. So we can say that, hey, can you create something with a matplot like a bar chart, can also be given as a prompt by itself. Okay, so you can say that here there is a option to use the existing data frame. Okay, so we click this. So it uses the prompt called using data frame D4, and then you say that create a bar chart. Okay, between, or create a scatter plot maybe. Between speed and distance. Yeah. So it will create you the code. So it has already given you the code, what is needed. So on execution, it has created a scatter plot. And we also get to know what kind of code is generated in order to create this prompt that is needed. Okay. So Abhinav, it's not prompt engineering, but it's to establish the connection between GenAI and Python. So that's what the whole topic is today, right? It's like, so we are not teaching you prompts basically. Prompts is needed just to reinforce it, because the only medium you have in order to interact with your uh, decoders, whatever you see here, is typically using your prompts. Yeah. Okay. Good then. So to the end. Okay, so what is that we it's the takeaway of this one. So I just wanted to give the last 10 minutes for the Q&A, right? So we can, as we develop this, there are two things that we have to keep in mind. One is coding essentials is critical. It's like, so to, in order to step into something, our basic fundamental is coding. So can I be completely without coding? The answer is no, but you have a greater advantage today. Yeah. So is it the same as before? The answer is, the way you learn coding a couple of years back for non-programmers has completely changed. Okay, the whole realm has changed. It has become significantly way easier. It is easy to interpret code, debug code, and you need not need very heavy support system, right? It's like, so yeah. And the next one is, with this thing, the next one is, all you need to do is have this understanding of how you can use these capabilities, this IDEs, in order to implement your next level of things. So let's say you are trying to do your AML, right? And you have, as part of great learning, you will always get what is the foundational thing that we learn. You will, of course, be learning coding in a very starting from very foundational thing to complex topics. You will be learning it module by module. But most of the people have this panic thing of, okay, can I really code? Okay, and I think that fear has to be completely go away, because you have these enablements available which can enrich your coding styles. Okay, so that's the two things that I wanted to say you. And I just want to encourage you with one thing. It's like, I started my career as a telecaller, moved into various realms, uh, was in testing for a few years, then moved into data analytics, and then moved into coding. So way back then, we didn't have these kind of environmental enablements that were making coding easier and fun. But now coding is literally fun. Okay. And one last disclaimer, can I use these things on an interview? Right now, the market is not open for that yet. Okay, so you cannot go to an interview and say that, hey, I know how to write prompts, or I can use this auto coding capabilities. We are still not there yet. Okay, sometimes in some years this trend will also change. So that's why we emphasis on learning both. Okay, so we really don't want to remove the gen a component and say that, hey, you have to be a hardcore coder. That's also not the point. Neither we are saying that you can completely go without coding. That is also not the point. The point is using the right balance of these capabilities, but still learning the foundations of programming, staying focused on the core knowledge that is needed towards this data science and AI comes from this Python foundations. And that's all the session about. So hope you enjoyed it, and I would just give it back to our host to take it over. Yeah, for the last Q&A and for any last call-outs.
Thank you so much, Ms. Shelton. That was a very solid discussion to be a part of. I mean, I always wonder, I mean, all the learners of the PGP AML and having you as an industry mentor, you being with Great Learning for the last 6 years, there's a reason why we always give examples of you. I mean, the kind of transitions, the kind of roles that you have attained more upon into strategy and leadership upon data science, AML, plus sharing the experience to candidates coming from diversified backgrounds is something that we always appreciate. Mr. Shelton, thank you so much for your time till now. So we have had a lot of queries from few of our participants. Uh, I mean, keeping apart Mr. Abhinav, I mean, he was assuming this to be a prompt engineering session, but um, I mean that was a different discussion to be a part of. However, I did uh, have one of the examples or questions of Mr. Prashant Kumar. Uh, Mr. Shelton, he did ask us a question that coming from a role of SDE, which is into software development engineering, more upon into testing. But I mean, if you look upon the current pathways of people and the uncertainties in the space of testing, right? There are a lot of people or professionals are willing to transition to AIML and data science. So his query was about switching to AIML with a good package of how will he be able to go ahead and attain that particular role. So if you can share your experience.
Yeah, so I would say you have a greater advantage, Prashant, because it's like if someone is coming from a software development cycle, they are very well already knowledgeable on coding concepts, the SDLC, as well as mature way of coding, like say the OOPS and other things, right? So it I would say for people like Prashant, it's still more one level of added advantage that they have, and it's about creating the right portfolio and the learning path. So two things are critical. So a lot of people start doing their curriculum by themselves, then they end up like little lost because they don't have a guided pathway that is a learning track for them. So set a right learning track which is guided. And the second thing is it's like to create your own portfolio for yourself. So when you for example, with great learning, the greatest advantage is always you do real time projects. And to add these projects back to your resume adds as a critical thing. So I wouldn't restrict it to academic projects, but anything that you can do for your current projects, because you are a software engineer, and then you can see, okay, in this space, I could do a little bit of data science for my current project. You can build your portfolio there, which can easily give you transitions into the field. Okay, so two things: having a clear, guided roadmap and a structured way of learning. Second is to build a clear portfolio, which means it could be a project that you really do and then add it to your resume, because that easily gives you the way to enter into AML easily.
Absolutely. Ms. Shelton, I do have also a question in on behalf of my learners as well. I mean, all the calls that we usually take when we speak to different kind of profiles. Uh, so, assuming you being a very senior professional and you being interviewing a lot of candidates for your respective organizations, so when an individual seeks for any opportunity in the space of AML, let's suppose take an example of a profile coming from QA itself with 6 years of experience, let's say looking to transition to role of a data scientist or role of AI ML engineering, what generally are the specification that you look upon a candidate? Is more of hands-on that you look for a candidate, or what exactly are the features that you look in a candidate?
Yeah. So the main thing that we look for is, I think I'm hearing some back. Yeah, it's better now. Yeah. So what we look in candidates, it's like, so I have been in the hiring for almost now 10 years, hiring people from various experience levels. The first and foremost thing that we look for is their interest for problem solving, right? Because this is not traditional programming. It's like where you have like, okay, this is the mock-up screen, you have to develop something similar to this screen. That is not how data science work. It's like data science is about experimentation. So you have to try out different things to build a model to predict something or forecast something. That is a continuous learning process to it. So we look for people who are very much interested in problem solving first. Second, who are keen in learning. Okay, so which means that we look for people who are always trying to upskill themselves, because this is a very dynamic field where everything comes in new. And do we look for people who are with experience? Yes, of course, because we look for people who are hands on, who have some kind of an academic background, or people who have done projects. So it's not that sometimes you cannot quote yourself as, okay, I did self learning of data science, which is not something that we usually take into account unless they have a very strong portfolio projects established. So if we have to find something, then it's more about how much of a strong portfolio we have, and that will determine their experiences. So as I said, it's three things: how far you are open for learning, open for problem solving, and then your portfolio at the end. It's like whether it be it academic or you have something which is really done in your project notebooks. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that justifies the way the program has been designed of AML as well. Uh, Mr. Shelton, I was recently consulting a folk. He came from, I guess, a background of a technical project manager. Now, when I looked upon his academic e-portfolio, wherein he has published all of his projects throughout his journey for the 12 months PGP, right? What I saw is across this 12 months of project expansion, the kind of e-portfolio that he has built was into every problem statement of machine learning and AI. Uh, to touch base of what we have discussed, understanding the influence of Python or the leverage of Gen AI, the kind of problem solving capabilities that he has gained coming from a role of a PMP, more of into functional technical project manager, and how is he currently leveraging AI more upon into digital and data transformation is immense. So that's all. I would also like to brief all of the participants is uh, learning a skill set of AI machine learning has a major differentiation rather than implementing that. Uh, the top industry experts or the learners who are making transitions currently are those who are trusting more of reliable source of learning, wherein they do not just do it for the sake of certification, but they have that no expertise of working on that problem statement and
Yeah.
looking at how the industry is transforming currently. There are ample amount of opportunities. I mean, as you also mentioned, Ms. Shelton, that there is no organization who is not driving towards a transformation. The major
Yep.
investments are coming in more upon into AI and data analytics, and that is what we all should be excited about. And that is all. I mean, if you look for any transition, it's better to be in the industry for the next 2.5 to 3 years, and that's wherein we can plan out a smoother transition.
So just to add on what you said, it's like that there was one of my old teammates who was into HR, and they wanted to do something in with ML for their HR analytics. It's like totally different domains. It's like no technical background, but at the end, it's about they wanted to use data science capabilities for their domain. It's like so that's purely that. It's very much goes with what you said. It's like it's irrespective of domains. People want to uh, keep going with these uh, great technical innovations in their respective domains and fields. So,
Absolutely. So we have a last question, Mr. Shelton. We have our last question to address of Indujas. She has mentioned, I'm in transition from RPA to generative AI, and I'm planning to switch. How does it works?
yeah. So RPA is the little brother, I would say, right? It's like so. It's like RPA has a defined set of boundaries, a defined set of goals. But now, if you can connect to the matured level of RPA, that is what we call it as agentic AI and AI orchestration using workflows. And then we also have other advancements like say RCP and other things, MCPs that have come into place. So I think it gives you a very good connection where I see that you can replace these RPA related components with AI agentic flows. If you think that your current RPA is quite complicated and maybe you have too many RPA flows to orchestrate, and you're thinking, okay, what is the best level I can do? You can think of Gen AI replacing those things. So I think it makes a very good connection. And it, the goal has to be about how can I efficiently solve this problem with the latest tech stack, right? So we are talking about same problem but with efficiency. So I see that for people like automation who are doing already doing heavy automation but cannot orchestrate a complete ecosystem together because there are too many flows and they are all disintegrated. I think um, the Gen AI component brings them all together. So here you have this opportunity to learn that those cutting uh, tech stacks as well. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. So I would request any of the attendees, if you have any other queries regards to understanding the technology, we have the best person out there. But yeah, I mean, if you would like to discuss more upon understanding at Great Learning, I mean, we also have one of the flagship program that we offer in PGP AI. So if there's anyone who's willing to know more about the program, we have shared you across a feedback form. You can fill up the form and get in touch with us, understand more about the program, understand more about know the kind of transitions people are making, how immense the transformation is heading upon. But yeah, I guess more or less, Ms. Shelton, thank you so much. I guess we have covered most of the part of our discussion. Uh, it's always a good part to I mean interact with uh, more than industry mentors like you when we understand the technology and the future. And it's always better to interact with professionals like you.
perfect. Sounds good. So looking forward to the new endeavors.
Absolutely. Perfect then, Ms. I guess no one has anything else to add upon it. I wish all of you a good evening. We'll hope to get in touch with all of you for a different webinar for a different context uh, with a similar aspiration. All right, Michelle. Anything else that you'd like to add for our candidates?
Yeah, it's like, so I would say we are in a place where we are either supposed to live with AI or fight against it. So I think we have made a right choice to live with it, right? It's like, so we wanted to go with it. So I think we have made the right choice as a group, as a team. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you so much for the session. It was wonderful having you on board, Michelle.